Well, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Eric Thompson and I am the president of Windermere Real Estate Services here in Colorado. And we just appreciate that you're joining us for this recording. This is the Real Estate Investing Kit, and joining with me is the one and only Paul Hunter. Paul is our branch manager of our office in Fort Collins with Windermere. And Paul, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's fantastic to be here. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, our pleasure. And we're going to be learning a lot from you as we go on here. And we're going to hear just in a minute a little bit about Paul's background. And before we do that, just a quick introduction. And again, this is your real estate investing kit. And I should tell you up front, we have some really corny clip art throughout this PowerPoint, and we thought that would help make this fun and entertaining, engaging, instead of just a bunch of words on the screen. We'll have some pictures too, and here are your goals. We have 3 goals for you as we go through this presentation. As you're here to learn more about investing in real estate. And one thing we should just tell you up front is that this is designed for people who are either brand new to this concept of owning investment real estate, or for people who are experienced. So really, whether you're brand new or experienced, this is going to work for you. This presentation will be relevant to you, and we have the same goals whether you're brand new or experienced. First thing we want to do for you is we want to clarify the process. We want to clarify for you the process that we use to analyze and evaluate properties, and the process we use to help our customers. And I think you're going to learn a lot from understanding this process, and you're going to get a lot of great value and some great takeaways here as we go through. Second thing we want to do is we want to show you what to look for. So as you're out looking for investment properties, as you're thinking about investing in real estate, we want to show you exactly what to look for, both what the numbers should look like and also what the property should look like. So we'll give you some great takeaways there. And you know what, overall, we just want to help you achieve your wealth goals. So that's a big thing for us here at Windermere Real Estate. We want to help our customers in many ways, and one way we want to help them is by helping them achieve their wealth goals. So that's a goal that we have for you as you listen in to this recording. We want to help you achieve your wealth goals. We all have those wealth goals, and we know that real estate can be a big part of that. And based on experience, both personally and also watching our investor clients, we know that real estate is a really excellent way to help you achieve that goal. So through this recording, we're going to give you some great takeaways based on research and fact in real life, and also we're going to have some fun as we go through here. So we just are so grateful that you would be engaged with us through this recording. And Paul, thank you again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I really look forward to running through this tool with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple of things you should know, those of you listening in, is that between the two of us, Paul and I own several rental properties ourselves. So that will give you, just kind of a baseline of understanding to know that that's a perspective that we're coming from, is that we do ourselves. We follow everything that's in this recording ourselves, and it's worked for us personally. And also, between the two of us, we've helped many clients. And Paul, you've been in real estate now 11 years. Is that correct?
Yes, I've been in it for 11 years, and I like what you say there about how we use this tool and this process. It makes it even easier to explain this to our clients when we can tell them our own stories about investing. And again, we're using this exact same process and tool. So you can rest assured that it's pretty successful.
Right. So this works. It's not based on just theory. It's based on fact.
No.
And one thing real quick about my background. This is my 21st year in real estate. Again, I own investment properties myself. I've helped a lot of investors along the way. One thing our listeners should know about your background, Paul, is that you started your career working for a company that did a lot of property management, so you were around lots of rental properties and kind of were in that world, and also got to know a lot of investors through that, and so that's a big part of your background too, right?
Absolutely. It's kind of where this all started, and where my interest in it kind of grew. And like you said, I got to see it from the ground up and see exactly the practice of the items that we'll go through today.
Great. So again, the takeaway here for the listener is that we're speaking from experience, our personal experience, and also direct experience helping customers, and we encourage you to reach out to your Windermere agent. You're watching this, you're listening to this because a Windermere agent gave this to you as a gift, and we're happy that you're listening in, and we want you to know your Windermere agent has all the information, has all the tools, has all the resources necessary to help you through this process, to help you make a great decision. They have access to the investing tool that we're going to show you in this presentation, so they're positioned to really help you out. So at the end, we'll talk about what to do next, but you should know that up front, that a big thing for you to do next is to reach back out to your Windermere agent to talk about next steps, to talk about how they can help you. You should know that in this webinar, there's a few things that we'll cover as we see it. Number one thing that we'll cover is the criteria. We'll cover a little bit about the criteria for the property, some things that you should be aware of as you're out looking at potential rental investment properties. The second thing we'll cover as on the numbers is we're going to look at some of the definitions of these key investment terms that we talk about here, and also talk about the targets that we look for. So for instance, we'll not only talk about the definition of yield, but we'll also talk about some targets that you're going to want to look for when we put together the numbers here. And then third, we're going to look at the investment tool itself, and we'll show you how we use this tool to help our customers make great decisions. You know, one thing we should say up front, we shared a little bit about Paul's and my background, lots of years of real estate, but what we're not attorneys, we're not accountants. We do encourage you to reach out to those professionals, to those key people who are on your team, so to speak, because they're a big piece of this too. There's some tax, tax components of this, legal components of this. So make sure you have great people on your team to help you on the tax and legal side as well. So before we get into these three things, first things first. So Paul, how about this? First things first. So how does this work? How does for someone that's brand new to investing in real estate, who may not be so sure about it, who may even view it as being complicated, just walk us through simply, how does this work?
Absolutely. So what we found through this process and this analysis tool is that we take what sounds like a very complicated process and we break it down and make it very simple for the client, for the customer. Essentially, I mean, I can break it down into the big pieces. It's we find the home that meets the criteria that we're looking for. You purchase the home, find and put renters into it, and then sit back and start achieving that passive income. It really is that easy.
Right. Right, I like it. So find a house, buy the house, find a renter, and let them pay your mortgage.
Absolutely, and get cash flow on top of it.
Yeah, right. So it really is that simple, and of course the more intricate part, the more interesting part, the part we can really help you with is helping you make sure it is the right property, both on is it the right property structurally, is it the right location, and also do the numbers work. So that's how we get involved. But that process that Paul just took us through, it really is that simple. So it doesn't need to be a big complicated thing. And we have folks that we help who may not be perceived as being really savvy investors. You may not ever find them on Wall Street and playing kind of the stock game, but they like real estate because it's a real life tangible thing, and you know what, people need homes to live in, and we can really help people out by owning rental property for them and offering them a great place to live. Another first things first is the benefits. So there are lots of benefits of owning investment property. And so, Paul, can you walk us through some of those just based on your own personal experience?
Yes, absolutely. There are several benefits of investment property. It's not just having the tenant pay your mortgage and having a paid off house in 15 or 30 years. There are multiple tax benefits to owning investment properties. The passive income from a rental property down the road if you've got a first-time investor that has, let's say more modest goals, all the way up to an investor that wants to have, 20 or 30 or 50 properties by the time they retire, it's just kind of a scalable benefit. So, it's to supplement whatever you do in your regular day-to-day life. If you're a teacher, or if you even if you're a stockbroker, we've worked with stockbrokers in the past that purchased investment properties to, again, kind of smooth out that income flow from their regular job. And then the biggest one, as we see it, is the potential for retirement down the road. Having this passive income, if you have 5 or 10 properties, or again that more aggressive 50 property goal, at the end of your working in your regular day job, you can have a lot of passive income and have a great retirement, and maybe even a sooner retirement, which is the goal for many of us.
Absolutely, that's and for me personally, that's my goal. I have a vision of a collection, a portfolio of real estate investments that are all paid off and full of tenants who are paying me every month to live in those homes. And just one of the key benefits, as I see it, based on my experience, is you have a mortgage on that property. It's at a fixed amount, and over time, we can look at the market and show that rents have increased over time. So over time, your tenants are paying you more and more rent. As time goes on, your payment, principal and interest payment, stay the same, and eventually that home is paid off, and now you're realizing all of that as continual residual income, as mailbox money, as we say. So that sure is a big benefit.
Absolutely, absolutely. It plays into my investment goals as well.
That's awesome. That's great. And another question to ask up front is, why now? Why is now a good time? We're in an environment now where prices have really been jumping up. Maybe there's a perception that the numbers don't work anymore, that prices have gotten too high. Maybe that ship sailed, or we've missed the boat. Tell us why now is a good time to be looking at investment property.
For sure. So you mentioned one of the reasons already just a few minutes ago, and that's that rents have increased. They've increased dramatically here over the last couple of years, and that also plays into our lower interest rates right now. Buyers have more purchasing power, so what that means is they can buy more house for the same money with low interest rates. And with increased rents, we're actually looking at higher investment targets, so on a monthly cash flow basis and on a yield basis, than we were when I got into the real estate business 11 years ago. And we all know that prices were much, much lower 11 years ago, but we're actually seeing higher cash flow, and again, we're locking it in at 30-year or 15-year fixed rates. So we're seeing a lot more stability, and we're seeing a lot better numbers now, regardless of the fact that prices have increased here in Colorado.
Yeah, and I think an important takeaway is that it's not so much about the price. The price is important, but it's really about the cash flow. It's about the yield. It's about the numbers that we'll get into. So there's more to the story
about the
than
bigger
just
picture.
The price. Right. Okay, so now let's kind of get into how do we pick the right property. And we say there are a few components of this. One is the location. We've all heard that adage. 3 most important things in real estate: location, location, location. And location is certainly important when it comes to a rental property. So walk us through what's important when it comes to location.
Absolutely. So what your Windermere broker will look for when analyzing different areas within your town for investment properties is it close to a university? Is it close to a large employer? Is it close to where families like to send their kids to school? And what we're looking for there with all of those aspects is where are the big tenant pools? Where are we going to pull from? Where are the tenants going to come from that are going to live in these homes? So we'll look at, again, where's the most desirable location, and that's going to be based off of what that specific town has, is the biggest benefit there. So again, university towns are great. You've got a built-in tenant pool there. Large employers are great. Again, a built-in tenant pool. And then schools do play a big factor, especially in the little bit higher end rental properties. People are really targeting schools for their kids.
Right. One thing people should know is that part of our service to you is that we'll go back and we'll look at the long-term history of vacancy rates based on the cities, towns that you're looking in, so we can really have a good understanding of what we can expect for vacancy rates over time. We're lucky in Colorado to have a really healthy economy and for the most part, really strong vacancy rates if you look over the long term.
Yes, absolutely. It's made the numbers work pretty well here again since we have such a strong economy.
Right. Next piece of this, Paul, is the condition, and tell us about what's important as it relates to rental property when we look at condition of a property.
Yes, so there are a couple of different ways to look at this. We're not just looking for the property that's ready to move into. If a property is priced right and has the potential, you can find one that might need a little bit of love or a little bit of money poured into it. But again, we're looking for what is the potential of the property. So when we go out and we look at these with our clients and with our customers, is we're looking for the main things that we can see. We're not inspectors, but we can see if a roof looks like it's about to go. We can see if the appliances and the mechanicals are old or are they new. The kitchens and bathrooms are where people spend a lot of money if they do need to update or remodel. So we're going to look at those and see, are those numbers that we're going to have to factor in up front as fix-up costs, or are they in great shape that we can kind of lower our maintenance numbers down the road? So, it's mechanical, it's structural, it's basically a visual look at the property to see, hey, what can we identify up front before even the inspection period are the issues that we can start dealing with right away.
That sounds great, Paul. And this may be a good time to interject and let everyone know that as part of this kit, you should have received a checklist of all the important items, and this checklist will help you evaluate property. It's the same checklist that we use when we help people look at property. So you're going to have that as part of this kit. And the third thing to talk about here, and this is also part of the kit, and part of our discussion right here are the numbers. And certainly this really comes down to the numbers. Yes, location is important, condition is important, and ultimately this is about the numbers, and location and condition really drive the numbers too. So Paul, tell us a little bit about the numbers here.
Okay, so like you said, the location and the condition do really factor into this. And it's kind of important to circle back to something you said a little bit earlier, that it's not all about price. It's very easy and it's understandable to get wrapped up in what the price of a home or an investment property is. But there are a lot of other things that factor into that. Is that going to be a property that needs a lot of maintenance? Is that a property that might have higher vacancy because of a negative location, or is it in a great location, so you're going to have lower vacancy, so that might make the numbers look a little bit better. We're going to look your Windermere broker is going to look at several different things to factor in there, and that's going to be, is it above or below average maintenance? Is it above or below average vacancy numbers for the area? And that can even be hyper-local. And then is it above or below potential average for appreciation down the road? And that factors into the yield numbers, which we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Okay, that sounds great. That's really helpful. So everyone should know that a big part of this recording is going to be looking at a detailed investment tool that we use to help our customers, and kind of walking you through the different components of that. And before we dive in, it's important that we kind of all get on the same page and all understand some of the key terms that are inside of that investment tool. And so we're going to go through the definitions of the three key terms, and also we'll talk about targets. So not only is well, how do you come up with this certain thing? We'll have the definition of terms, but we'll also tell you some of the targets that we look for, that you should be shooting for when it's time to go evaluate an investment property. And Paul's going to help us do this. And the first one, Paul, to talk about is a simple one, an important one, and that's just cash flow, right? The cash flowing in, that's a big part of this discussion. So tell us about how we look at cash flow.
Okay, sounds good. This is the fun one. This is the one you actually get to see every month show up in your mailbox, the check from either your property manager or from the tenant directly. So cash flow is what we're looking at after all of your costs. So, you have your monthly mortgage payment, which probably includes taxes and insurance. You may or may not have a property manager that handles the management and the tenant portion of your investment property. And then any maintenance that you do have to do on a property, because we want to make sure that these homes that we're offering to the public are in good shape. So you will have maintenance on these homes. It's just something that we factor in. So we do have targets, and this is going to be based specifically on your area. So again, I'll talk a little bit about how 11 years ago when I got into the real estate industry, we had even lower targets then than we do now, even with those prices being so much lower. As a quick example, Fort Collins right now, we're looking at for single-family home, $250 or more of cash flow after every one of your costs. So that's including management, maintenance, potential vacancy. We factor that in, and I'll dive into that a little bit more when we get to the investing tool. But that's $100 more than it was 11 years ago, even with prices that are so much higher. So that's going to be specific to your area and to your town. And again, like I said, it could even be hyper-local, depending on what area of the city or town that you're in, and the benefits of the different areas for those tenant pools.
Okay, that all sounds good, and so this one's pretty simple. It's just the money that's left over after you've paid all of your expenses. The whole point of this is to have money flowing in, and you set a target, and it's all local. But here in Northern Colorado, for instance, we look for cash flow targets on single family of $250 a month.
Yes, yep, and then on multifamily, let's say a duplex or a triplex, you're going to see there's some efficiencies to those types of properties, so you'll see even more cash flow on those.
Okay, so maybe
and we'll make sure
a month?
That they hit. Yes, yeah. So if you're looking at let's say a duplex in Fort Collins right now, we'd probably like to see $600 or more per month on a property like that of your cash flow after every one of your costs.
Okay, so in that duplex example, $300 per side, totaling up to $600.
Yes, and again, there are going to be some efficiencies there. That's why we like to see more cash flow per unit on a multifamily property like a duplex or a triplex than on a single-family home. So that's something that you'll want to talk to your Windermere broker about. How many? I'm air quoting here, but how many doors do you want? How many units are your goal, or is your goal for investment properties?
Great. That sounds great. The next definition to talk about is yield. So walk us through how that works.
Okay, great. So as a part of the investment tool, we calculate this thing called yield, and it's an average after-tax yield based on, it's a yearly basis. And the reason that we do this is so that you can analyze this real estate investment against something like stocks or bonds or any other type of investment vehicle. This way, again, you can just compare the numbers side by side and say, hey, I can make 20% after-tax yield per year in real estate, and let's say bonds are at 15% or 10%, and stocks are in that range. Then you can make an educated decision, and our clients do make educated decisions based on that yield number. So again, that's a yearly number that is an after-tax return on your money, essentially.
Okay, good. And what kind of targets should we be looking for there?
In this market right now, again, this is it's going to be specific to your area, but in Fort Collins, we like to see 14% or higher. Again, that's a little bit higher than we used to see back when I started 10, 11 years ago. 10% was good at that point. What we've seen is just an increase in appreciation in northern Colorado, and we'll talk a little bit about where those numbers will go and kind of our forecast for all of that. But a safe number is going to be 14% or above, and that factors in your cash flow, that factors in the appreciation, factors in essentially your cash-on-cash return of that investment property.
Okay. Great. And then the last one to talk about is cap rate.
Okay, so cap rate, a lot of seasoned investors love this number. You know, it's useful to a certain point, but I'd say that it doesn't tell the whole picture. So it's certainly something that I run for investors so we can kind of compare apples and oranges. But you know, it's not the whole picture. And what the cap rate is your net operating income, which is your gross income, your gross rent, minus all of your costs. So debt service, you know, maintenance on the property, vacancy, anything like that, divided into the price. And right now, I would say that a good rate in Fort Collins is going to be investors are purchasing at 5.5% and above. It used to be, that target's gone down a little bit, and again, it's a function of price. But it's hovered in northern Colorado between 5.5% and 7.5% since I've been in the business.
Got it. Okay. So again, it's net operating income and divided by price.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. All right. Great. And just in case anyone that's listening thinking, "Wow, this sounds a little complicated," or I'm not really sure how to go do these calculations now. The good news is that we have the tool that really does it for us automatically. So we work together with you using this tool. We plug in the real live numbers, and this tool that automatically generates all these things, and then we can look at you know, what the results are, and we can measure those against the targets that we have. So just know that we have that tool in place to help us with all that, and you will see that tool here in just a second. We'll show it to you. And before we do, Paul, because you're the author of this tool, tell us these three things. We want to know a little bit about the background of this actual tool. You know, what is it, and why did you create it?
Okay, sounds great. So you had mentioned, you know, that I started my career at a property management company that also dealt in real estate. So right from the beginning, I started with specializing in investment properties. So the background of this is there was, you know, through that company and some other people that I worked with, some kind of rudimentary analysis tools. And over time, what I did was I looked at what goes into the actual process of the analysis of these properties. So we put that together and made it a much more fleshed out, for the lack of a better word, intense tool that it is today through looking at these real world situations with tenants and what goes into maintenance, what goes into appreciation, what goes into vacancy, and had several different mentors along the way that helped kind of tweak things here and there. Worked with a couple of people that are much even more mathematically inclined than I am to tweak some of those things and turn it into what it is today. And what it is it's a tool so that the first-time investor to the seasoned investor can analyze an investment property versus another investment property or versus another investment vehicle like a stock or a bond. What I wanted to do is I wanted to make it easy to do. So that's the purpose of it. So we can compare apples and oranges here. We can compare apples and horses. It's all broken down into this tool. So that goes into a little bit about the why. Is I wanted to make it easy for myself to analyze these properties, but I also wanted to make it easy for my customers to make educated decisions about their future wealth. And we have clients today that purchase properties based on this investment tool all over the globe. And you know, sometimes they don't even see the property in person. I always recommend it's a good idea to do that, but they'll purchase straight off of this investment tool because the numbers have worked for them over time.
Right. So maybe one way to sum it up is it makes the complex very simple, right?
Absolutely, and that's why we did it.
Right. And yeah, so everyone again should know that we have this tool at our disposal to use, and when it comes time to help you, we'll be plugging in the numbers and showing you the results so that you can make a really great decision. So now it's time to show people what this looks like, and let's start with just this image here. Let's start with an image that no one can see.
That'll explain it
right.
best.
Right, so I'm sure everyone's really excited about this image on the screen right now. The point of this is just to show you this is kind of what the whole thing looks like together. There's an input page, and then these are some of the results page. So you don't have to get out your magnifying glass. Let's go ahead and zoom in here. We're going to zoom in on some of the key pieces here, and we're just going to walk you through some of the key components of this tool, and then at the end we'll talk about what to do next. But first, we just want you to understand. So what's in here? You've heard now a lot about this tool. We want to show you what's inside. So the first thing, Paul, that's inside starts with the basics, right? And that's the price. So just tell us about what we're seeing here.
Okay, great. So like you said, that big page that you showed there with all that data and information, it can look daunting. But what we do is we just break it down into little easy pieces, and that's what your Windermere broker is going to do for you. So we're going to be inputting the data for you and then showing you why or why not a certain property is going to be a good investment for you. So this is where we start. So this is just the basic information about the home. So purchase price or value of the home. And you'll notice there that we've split up the value between the land and the improvements or the house. And the reason is because there are some tax benefits, some deductions that you can make, some depreciation of the improvements, which would be the actual building on the property. So that's why we split it out like that, to make it a little bit easier to show you those tax benefits down the road here in this tool.
Okay, because we factor in some of those tax benefits as we go on here, so that's another reason why we do that. So I think this page is pretty self-explanatory. We start with the price, make the allocation, and then we move to this page where we look at the financing data. And just tell us about what we're seeing here, Paul.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll start here by actually talking a little bit about that. Just at the top of that previous page, it said 30-year fixed option. We also have, that's what most investors are going to go with these days. We don't see a lot of adjustable rate mortgages anymore. But there are some situations where a client would want to go with that. And we do have within this tool the ability to analyze a seller carry option or a 5 or 7 year ARM or an 80-10 type situation that we used to see. So it is a little bit even more robust than what we're showing you here. So just know that
15-year loan too, I assume, right?
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
So anyway, here at the financing data piece of it, this is where we break down if you're going to get a loan on the property, what your down payment's going to be, because obviously that'll affect your mortgage payment. Any closing costs that you might have on the property, so this would be loan origination fees, or what we'll also lump in here is if, let's say, go back to that example of the house that needs a brand new roof before anybody were to move in, you would plug those numbers in here because we wouldn't want to change your maintenance numbers over time. Those are just upfront costs. So then what we'll do is we'll look at what your interest rate is. We'll plug that in there. We'll get that directly from your lender. And again, interest rates right now, even though they took a little bit of a bump here in the last couple of months, interest rates still are so historically low that's another reason why it's great to purchase right now. And then we'll look at your, and most of the time you won't have mortgage insurance there on line 16 because investment properties will typically need 20% or more down. And then you'll look at your total monthly payment there. Something to notice on line 19 there, we do calculate the annual interest on the property, and that's again to calculate those tax advantages and the tax benefits of being able to write off interest. So again, you'll want to check with your accountant on that, but there are some great tax benefits of owning an investment property as well, and we want to factor that in.
So some of the simple things that come out of the work on this page would be how much cash is someone coming up with at closing between the down payment and closing costs, and then what the monthly payment is for principal and interest based on the term and based on the interest rate. So those are some of the big results and some of the key information that comes out of this page. Pretty straightforward, self-explanatory. And then the next page you call operating data. So tell us about this.
Okay, so A lot of the information on here is going to be the expertise of your Windermere broker, in addition to some of just the property record information that we'll plug in here. So, you know, we're factoring in rental increases per year. What we factor in here in the investment tool is a very conservative number, and we like to keep these numbers conservative just so that if all the numbers work great on a worst case scenario basis, then they're only going to get better from there. Then you're going to be, your Windermere broker will be plugging in the rent number for that specific property, and then that monthly rent is averaged over the holding period. And then we're also looking at what the potential vacancy is. Now, in Fort Collins right now, again, as an example, we have pretty much 0% vacancy. So we don't like to put in 0% because it seems like an unrealistic guarantee. So 1 or 2% factored in there, again, will give you that worst case scenario. Then we look at your annual operating expenses. So a lot of this stuff comes directly from property records. So the property taxes on the home, what are they for the last year? Because that's going to come out of your gross income, and that'll help you calculate your net operating income. What is the homeowner's insurance on the property? And that's a number that's going to be plugged in based on the purchase price. Utilities, if you've got a duplex, you might be plugging in some common shared utilities that might be paid for by the landlord, you, the owner. But most of the time in this market, we're seeing tenants pay all the utilities as well. Maintenance is one of those numbers on there that's going to come from your Windermere broker as an expertise piece of this. Is it going to be higher or lower than that average of 8 or 9% in this market? So if it's something that's going to, if it's an older home, if it's an old town home, you might want to bump that number up. And if it were, you know, a brand new construction property, you bump it down. You'll also plug in the number there for property management. So if you have, if you're a first-time investor and you're buying a condo, you know, it may not be worth it to have a property manager handle that for you. But if you've got, you know, let's say 8 or 10 properties, I would, with my own experience, I'll tell you it's worth having a property manager handle all that stuff. So you'll factor in the cost there. And then if there's an HOA on the home, on the property, you'll plug that in there as well. So what this page gets to is your total monthly payment based on all of your costs. So you're looking at your total operating expenses there.
Okay, got it. So so it says right there on line 38, it looks like your total monthly payment and HOA, and that's including every single thing, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's including everything, and that's
Okay.
why it's. If you look back at the big page, that's why it's in yellow there to kind of draw your attention to it.
Okay, good. So then next we go on to investment performance, and this is the kind of the key summary page, and sums up some of the major things that we're looking for. So tell us about this, and also in here we're seeing those 3 things that we talked about on the definitions page a few slides ago. I see those here. So yeah,
Yes.
walk us through this slide.
Okay, great. So this is the fun slide. This is the slide where you see if it's a good investment property and how much money you're going to be making over the holding period. So the first one you're going to see there is the cash flow. That number is the cash flow after tax. So most of the time your after-tax cash flow is actually going to be even higher than your before-tax cash flow. And the reason being that depreciation that we had talked about a few minutes ago, as well as the ability to write off the interest of the property. Sometimes on a duplex or a triplex or some of those multifamily type properties, you just end up making too much money, so the tax man does need to get their piece. And that's a situation where you might see a little bit lower after-tax cash flow than before, but it's not usually that way. And then the other big one you're seeing there is yield. So this is your after-tax annual average yield. In this example of this summary, it was a 5-year hold period. So if we factored in a very conservative appreciation and then factored in all that cash flow and then the ability to reinvest that money, you're looking at 21.72% yield on the investment that you made originally each year. And you know that's a pretty attractive number when you're looking at, when you compare that to either stocks or bonds or if you're keeping your money in the bank and getting 0.00001% in a CD or a savings account right now, these numbers are going to consistently outperform those. And what our clients mention to us is that they love the fact that these numbers are so good, but it's also something they can go look at. It's a house or a duplex that fits usually in their town, and they can go drive by it, say, hey, that's something that's going to help me pay for my kids' college, or help me retire, or help send me to Disneyland. I actually just had a client that was their goal, was getting their whole family to Disneyland here in the next year, and this was part of that goal.
Oh, that's great. I love that story. Tell us about line 93. That's a pretty interesting term there, wealth position. That sounds intriguing. Tell us more about that.
Yes, absolutely. That's, again, a fun number. If you were to back up to the original investment, I think it was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was $108,000. If you look at the cash flow during the holding period that you've had it, so all of that cash flow that you're accumulating, plus all of the appreciation proceeds, let's say it appreciates very conservatively at 3% per year. That's going to be a lot over that time period. And because you've leveraged it, in this situation we said we put 25% down, so you've leveraged 75% of the cost of that home, but you're still realizing 100% of that appreciation. That's why that number looks so big. So when you walk away, in this situation, in this case here, this sample case, in 5 years, you put in, that $100-some thousand, but you're walking away with $288,569. So that's a fun number to show clients that as a potential that's what they're going to be looking at.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a really fun one for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I like looking at that one.
Yeah. So Paul, thanks for walking us through all this. And I think a key thing for people to know is that we have the tool. We simply just plug in the numbers, show you the results, so then you can make a really great decision. It sure comes in handy, as Paul said before, when you're looking at a choice between two different investment properties. When you're looking at a choice of where do I put my money, that's something that's on our mind quite often. We're actually recording this during a time of a lot of volatility within the stock market, which is pretty common. It seems like often there's volatility in the stock market, and one nice thing about real estate is it doesn't tend to have so much volatility. So I'm guessing there's some people listening thinking, well, I have money, I'm not sure if I should put in stocks or put in real estate. We advocate for diversity, and we think real estate's a really great tool and provides a lot of benefits, and this can help you compare and understand your options and help you make a really good decision.
Absolutely, and what's fun about this is that this tool and this process has turned some buyers that really didn't have any comprehension of long-term investment or real estate investing, has turned so many of those customers and clients into investors, and they start out with one and end up growing their portfolio, and they become savvy investors. It's really fun to watch that process over time and see somebody really just set their family up in a much better position than they would have if they were just thinking about, again, their day-to-day job as opposed to the long-term and the potential for real estate in their portfolio.
Yeah, it really is powerful. It really can create a lot of freedom in people's life, and it's exciting to watch, and we at Windermere, we love helping people do this. And hopefully you got some really good takeaways from all this information. You can see it was based on fact and research, and you can see that we have the resources available to help you out. You may now be wondering, well, what do I do next? I'm intrigued, I'm interested, I want to learn more. What do I do next? What you need to do next is reach out to your Windermere broker, connect with them, and the first thing they're going to ask you is, well, tell me about your goals. What goals do you have? And then we'll get into what price point makes sense. What will you be comfortable with? We'll have you talk to a lender to see what qualification looks like, and then we will help you find a property. We'll help you go out, evaluate properties, analyze them using this tool. We'll go through the checklist that we all use together, and we'll help you reach that goal and help you build some great wealth in your life and set yourself up for a great future using real estate as a tool. So Paul, thank you for all of your help.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is one of my favorite topics, and I love talking about it. So I had a great time today. Thank you.
That's great, and we appreciate all of your insight. To the listeners, thank you for listening in. Thank you for watching. Again, next step, reach back out to your Windermere broker, and we'll show you exactly how this investment tool can work for you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for committing to this, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks.